I recognize that stain anyway.
Guys, wasn't me.
Can anybody see us yet?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you can see us, we are getting sound check and making sure the camera's angles look good. We'll get started here shortly, but you're a witness to the mess. I can hear an echo.
It was, I opened up the stream, so it was playing through all our headphones.
All right, cool.
But I muted it.
Like,
So.
that sounded like a problem. How do we sound, John?
Good.
Good.
Perfect.
For the early birds, we've got John being our sound tech, we've got Nick being our moderator, and we have a studio audience. Eva and Allie are here to, I don't know, nag us. What's the word when you're like in the audience?
Heckle us,
Heckle.
yes.
We got our hecklers here.
Like the Muppets.
No,
Hey, we
we'll
look-
just
we look
blatantly
good.
interrupt you.
We look good. Cool.
We had to stack the room so it looked like we had friends.
We're paid to do this.
Exactly. How far are we from starting? We got a few minutes yet. We got to kill.
Yeah.
4 minutes.
So about them Packers. I don't know.
Go ahead, Charles. Keep going.
That's as far as I got.
Okay, power strips probably shouldn't be making sparking sounds when you plug in the memory.
That's fine.
I guess
But not use
everyone who's listening, they can hear me, right? Yeah.
Nope. Nobody's. Oh wait, there are a couple. We have some hoorays and yays, so they are listening.
Well, I guess I can give some fun facts since they're here.
Or tell jokes.
Or tell jokes.
I can tell my favorite. You go first.
I was about to say, so I'm very fidgety. You'll notice there's a stack of things here that, because I have to sit still for the
What?
next, yes, exactly. So I have this grouping of stuff, because I have to sit still and not bounce my feet because the microphone can pick that up.
Perfectly coiled piece of Velcro.
You'll notice there are. Oh wait, Charles, you have a clicky pen. You're bad. I was
Oh,
gonna say there are
there's
no
clicky
clicky
pen.
pens on the table.
No, I actually try very hard not to click during.
You can be trusted with the clicky. I
Yeah.
cannot. I can't stop it.
Actually, because I wouldn't stop clicky is when I stole this piece of foam from I
The
don't know
foam
where.
is good.
From here, it was mine.
It was yours?
You took it. Yeah.
I totally took it though.
Totally took it.
1,000%.
I gave you an elephant, and you took my piece.
Give him an inch.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Sounds like you need a fidget ring.
Yeah.
Just one that doesn't make any noise.
Yes.
My sister has this.
You would
like-
hear that fidget spinner sound.
Yeah. My sister has this cube that has like toggles on it that like move in different ways. So if you rotate it, you have a different sensory thing.
We had a thing where like it was a little box, but when you pushed it, it made a bubble wrap sound. A little keychain.
John like 3D printed this like light switch thing,
Mm.
and I totally stole that from you because
No,
it
that's
was
fine. That thing's sweet.
so convenient for me to use while talking to customers.
thing where like.
I just opened up the stream.
I had to mute the stream because I'm hearing like an echo.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Kate. She says she likes my shirt.
Ben and I are in uniform.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Allie was here.
I just want you to stand out.
Charles's comfort.
John, did you switch to beer?
Changed my mind.
Good job.
Making the right choices.
But there was no more official left, so
Oh, really?
it's okay. Microsoft.
I thought there was still one in there.
I didn't look that hard.
I do look funny, so.
Please with yourself with that one.
That was
It's like one of my running jokes.
Yeah, it's one of the Ben lines.
Yes.
Is there going to be a Q&A? We haven't talked about that at all. If after people want to hang out,
Yeah, why not?
Sure.
yeah. But during, I don't think we're going to be taking a lot of questions, but if you guys need clarity or something like that, that makes sense.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
Nick, if there's something that's like super pertinent, say,
Or just funny.
Yeah.
or just funny. Yeah. Yeah, because we can still edit out stuff that's bad in the actual production.
Yeah.
right?
But this is,
The live stream is going to be.
the internet is permanent. We can't get rid of it, so we're going to have to be careful.
Yeah.
So, you know.
What are those phrases I'm not allowed to say?
I don't know. I couldn't think of any. I was going to say don't swear, but that's not been too much of a problem.
Sorry.
Good.
That's
Luck.
That's gonna happen.
Oh, so this is a PG-13.
We had to click it was not for kids, so we set the thing.
Well, you have to click unless it's specifically made for kids.
Yeah, exactly.
You have
Okay.
to hit not for kids.
Not
Do
that
we have
it's
to put
not
that
kid friendly.
NSFW? Is it that?
You got a really strict workplace, maybe.
The podcast listeners are going to learn so much about how I actually talk in this recording session.
Nick's masterful editing skills are going to be like.
I do have to edit out a lot of pauses in
Yeah.
my train of thought.
Yep.
Hold on, let me go get a book.
So I think it's officially 7:15, isn't it?
It's 7:16.
What? We're late.
Which is on time.
Yeah, exactly.
Late for being early.
And we're recording.
We are not recording the actual recording yet.
Oh,
but,
we should-
now we are.
Okay.
Now we are.
All right. You guys all ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Welcome to the latest Watercolors Aquarium Gallery podcast, brought to you from the Aquarium Rush Studios in downtown Grand Rapids, Michigan. My name is Ben.
I'm Amy.
And I'm Charles.
We have so much fun doing this that we're going to talk about how much fun we have doing this. I mean, that's kind of what the gist of this podcast is about.
We're
tonight,
getting a little
right?
meta here.
Yeah, but I think the other thing that's going to come out in this is we're going to talk about our favorite episodes, but it's the why it's our favorite that I think is going to be what's actually revealing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you guys look to see how many episodes you chose that were in our top 10? Because I only have one.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't do that. And I forgot a laptop so I can look up the stats, so Amy might have to do that.
Ooh,
We'll have to
actually,
get those ready.
John, will you grab me my iPad or my purse down there?
Yeah.
And while that's happening,
What are you looking for? Stats?
Yeah, but I can pull up the whole list of the podcasts, which might be helpful.
Thanks.
We didn't pause that very well for it to be edited.
You never do.
but while that's happening,
Shameless.
Oh, we have to do our shameless plug. I'm really thrown off here.
I see
guys.
that.
The live stream. Did we mention we're live streaming this today?
We are. Yes.
It's throwing me off a little bit. But anyway, go to watercolorsaquariumgallery.com for live plants, for aquarium merch, aquarium supplies. I think we passed 40 species on the website this week. They're
Nice.
all grown submerged. They all have good roots. That means that they shouldn't really melt when they go into your tank unless your water is way different than ours.
Or you're really bad at keeping aquarium.
You don't microwave it first or something.
Right, there we go. And stickers.
And stickers, yes.
Yeah.
And plugging our Watercolors Aquarium Gallery podcast listeners group on Facebook. They are awesome, and you should join them.
Yeah.
That has been, I look forward to Facebook again after the years of, I look forward to it again.
Yeah, and I'm in aquarium groups. I hate Facebook, but this makes it worth it.
It does, for sure. We also want to plug that we are doing another listener questions episode. So send those listener questions to info@watercolorsaquariumgallery.com. Did I do all that right?
Yeah.
Wow, sweet. I always mess that up. Put attention Nick so that Charles doesn't read those ahead of time because he does like to cheat, but we do want to try to minimize that the best that we can. So there.
Yeah, anything else?
I think that's the business.
Yeah.
I think we've taken care of it.
If this went well, we probably have done live streams since we recorded this, so look and see if we're still doing them.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
We're in the future right now.
So, since we're live streaming, they can see our glasses. I think we should tell them what we have in these.
This is the Black Rocks My Kiss IPA, and it's quite delicious.
Is this the official? Bell's?
That is the official.
Yes, Bell's official. Great, juicy.
Stole my beer.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a Cruzan rum. It's fine.
Our studio audience.
Same with you. French cider.
Ooh, fancy.
Hoity-toity.
Got another mic this year.
May as well.
Okay, I need to not watch the chat because this is gonna make me laugh.
Oh,
too
you gotta
much.
get way too distracted if you watch it.
Someone says Charles looks 7 feet tall. And someone says, Ben, you need a man bun to drink an IPA correctly.
Well, that's why it is a New England style IPA,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, they get a pass.
They do.
Okay, We're not looking at your comments anymore. We have moderators looking, so they'll tell us if there's something important.
It was funny enough. It was worth saying.
funny.
Yeah.
I will go back through and look at them though, guys.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun.
Yep. For sure.
Okay, back to the episode.
Yeah, let's get into it. I struggled with this one.
Really?
I did.
Just because you didn't remember them, or?
Well, I mean, that was part of it. I'm the old man after all, so that definitely is part of it. But choosing 5 out of that were like favorites. Every time I looked at one and go, oh yeah, I remember we talked about that. That was so fun, and I did that. Or yeah, we talked about that, and it was really important that we talked about that.
Yeah, I started off saying like, oh, I'm going to listen to all the ones that I think I should. I didn't do that. So I just did, like, which ones do I remember enjoying the most while we were doing it?
Oh, that's a good idea.
I started off there, and then I realized that strategy wasn't going to work for me for 2 reasons. A, it would all be newer episodes, and B, it would be episodes that haven't come out yet. So everyone stay tuned. We have a few bangers of an episode coming out real quick here.
And C, can you say you enjoyed it if you just got mad?
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I did do, I'm going from 5 to 1, and they are in chronological order from oldest to newest.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I did go through our list and try to find episodes that, I made my initial list and then I prioritized episodes that I felt. So we do the stats on episodes, fun fact, guys, and I found ones that had performed below average and I put them higher on my list. Because I was just like, those were good episodes. More people should go back and watch those.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about that. I just, I admit it went a little bit random.
That's fine.
That one's good, put it on the list. And I put I think there's 8 or 10 of them on the list so that I'll only get through 5 and I could be a little bit choosy that way. But it was not an easy one for me.
Yeah,
Because-
I had to narrow.
Yeah. We have those topics that we do that just because they're fun.
Mm-hmm.
We have the topics that we do because it needs to be said. And we have those topics that we do that like teach and bring cool ideas into light. So it was hard for me to choose through that. With it being the case that we do have the rankings on hand. So when you start out an episode, introduce how you want to talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
and then we should see. And this one ranked.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
Charles has it up.
Cool. I like it.
All right, I guess I got to start then. So my number 5 is the invasive species with Dr. Alicia Davidson.
Wait, I need a pen.
I assume that one made it pretty close to our lists, if not
Oh,
on
yeah.
all of them. That one was really, really fun.
That was one of my favorites and one of our worst performing episodes of all time.
I always think if we have a guest, people should be excited, because the guests that we've gotten have been amazing.
Absolutely.
And I think Alicia was definitely one of those that I learned the most from.
Well, we've had her as a guest twice.
Yeah.
Don't talk too much about that.
I won't. I won't. Yeah, I won't. Because she's that knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of those that I actually didn't put on my list. Because I was so disappointed that it didn't perform well.
Yeah.
You're salty about it.
I was salty about it, yeah.
Fair enough.
I
It
don't
was-
have to look it up. It's one of our top 20 worst performing episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was great. And I don't know if people look at it and don't see, how does that apply to aquariums?
I think that might be it.
Yeah, it definitely does, and you should go back and listen to it if you haven't. It's a valuable one to those of us that look at the conservation of aquarium keeping.
Yeah, and we were doing it in the wake of that whole Lacey Act controversy where everyone was mad, and we had her come on and explain, hey, this is what this means. And we were mad, and then we were like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was a really fun one. We got to learn.
Yeah.
Cool. Charles.
Yeah.
Which is your number 5? Or, I don't know if you guys did them in order.
Yeah, so this is definitely my number 5, and it was episode 90, Blackwater Aquariums Turning a Fringe Habitat into a Mainstream Hobby. And I have a simple, really stupid reason. So this was the first episode that I wrote the title for.
You can definitely see where it went from me to you.
I honestly didn't put that on my list because I knew you would.
Yeah,
Right.
I loved that episode. The topic itself was amazing. I just loved how just wonky the discussion was, and we've gotten a lot of really cool feedback from that one. Mostly positive, but we did get one criticism that was basically like, well, it's not quite right, and like the discussion, but it was a cool discussion with the guy, because it was like, yes, but you're ignoring that your expertise is in temperate blackwater environments.
Oh.
Right.
And there's a lot of variation there, and I learned a lot about Tenhomenon Falls and all these other things because of that discussion, and it was really cool. But yeah, just the highly variable environments and how they can change daily, seasonally, weekly. It was so cool.
Yeah, the fun for this one was definitely the discussion. Like, we got a lot of really fun feedback from it, and we have a good time with that.
I also mentioned I try to track stats. After this episode came out, we actually had a slight bump in our licorice grant episode.
Hey!
That kind of makes sense. They correlate pretty well.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was a really fun one to kind of demystify Blackwater and make it seem attainable and maybe even a little bit easy. Like, it's not as problematic as lots of people look at it. Like, I have to mess with water? Well, geez, I might as well do salt water then. Okay, that wouldn't be hard either. But that Blackwater one, it made me want to try it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, my takeaway from that is this is infinitely more complex than I ever thought it would be, but it's way easier than I ever thought it would be.
A complicated problem with simple solution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. That was fun. Where did that one rank as far as popularity goes?
I think it's like middle top, right?
Yeah, it was one of our better ones. It wasn't like top tier, but let's say A tier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Not S tier episodes.
Yes. Thank you for catching that.
All right.
I'm going to go with the very first one I wrote down because I figured I wrote it down first for a reason. And I'm cheating. Any killifish episode.
Hey, tune in. We have one in the queue, guys.
I know. I said
Yeah.
episode 12 and the one that comes out soon.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we probably have a third and fourth one that we're in the works for.
Probably. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
one in episode 12 was fun, but the ones that are gonna come out, I feel like are so much more fun.
That is exactly how I look back at it, and that's why I had to mention the one that's not even out yet.
Yeah.
Simply because that made me enjoy the episode we did. That was like, what, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago?
That's not just because of our terrible memories, is it?
I don't remember.
Like, I don't remember recording that, so how could it have been that fun?
Yeah.
For me, that was bringing a group of fish that I've had a long appreciation for, fish that have been considered obscure for a long time, and kind of pushing them into the limelight.
Also, let's just call out the Two at the Zoo come in May. We're
yeah.
gonna be there, by the way. So
Yes.
if you want to meet us in the flesh, there you go.
The American Killifish Association and the American Black Bear Association are doing a joint convention in Kalamazoo, Michigan in about a month and a half.
Yeah, May 19th to the 21st.
I'm gonna be there and we're gonna have stuff.
Yeah.
And
A bunch of plants.
plan on bringing home many Achilles.
Yes.
Alright. My turn?
Yeah?
My number 4 is actually 3 episodes.
Oh, wait.
So I cheated too.
Oh, wait.
Wait, what? Oh,
How did the Killifish episode rank? I mean, that was like a long time
a long
ago.
time ago.
Yeah, it was one of our early ones, so it didn't perform as well as some of our other ones. Probably in the bottom third, but not terrible.
Bottom what? Bottom fold?
Yeah,
Bottom 4, did you say?
Bottom third.
Bottom third. Okay.
but I think it was our episode 10, actually.
Episode 12.
Episode 12. Yeah.
Episode 12.
It'll be interesting to see how the upcoming ones do.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's actually
Okay, now
my
it's your
turn,
turn,
right? I put episode 32 through 34, which are the 3 tanks designed around a freshwater or saltwater fish ones.
Oh, that was cool.
Yeah, I had a blast with that, and I think it's just like having that challenge to come up with something versus like coming up with anything off the top of my head, you know? Like, we have to actually come up with a full tank, not just a list of fish.
Yeah,
That was really fun.
I really love episodes like that. One of the suggestions we get a lot that I actually am like not interested in doing an episode in is people will be like, you should give stocking suggestion episodes.
That's
And
a tricky one.
those are so hard. Those are probably the hardest. Like, people think it's so easy, and it's not. But also, like, just the flip side of, like, okay, you're going to get a list of things that I like, not a list of things you can keep.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, if I can make a list of things I like, then I'm just going to do a top 5 fish list.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, compatibility is a lot more complicated than just a list.
Yeah.
We did do that perfect fish pairings one, and I thought that was probably like the best example we could come up with of something similar.
Yeah.
I think that and the designing a tank around a fish episode, that was kind of our sneaky way of giving stocking advice.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it did well.
That and the schooling reef fish one.
Fishes. So just so Ben knows, when I'm giving like general answers, I don't have a number ranking for anything past
Right.
10. I can just look at how far back it is in the pages.
Okay, right on.
Anyways.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. So is that to me already?
We're
Yeah,
kind of
that was
busting
a
through
quick
these
one.
a little fast, guys. We need to, go in depth a little bit more.
We're at like 15 minutes right now, so
Okay.
we should be all right.
Did you post the thing on Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I saw it.
So I'm going to bring up the other Alicia Davidson episode.
Oh, this one's going to be heavy.
Yeah, so that
Which is good. It should be.
Yeah, it was the Lacey Act Amendment episode. That one massively underperformed, and that was very disappointing to me because it was a topic that was just so important to me. Like, the discussion around that actually almost got me out of the industry. So many people, like, I actually had a conversation Sunday about how did you get from reading this piece of legal jargon and you go straight to they're going to take all our fish away. Like, there's that A to B doesn't make sense. And it was such a heavy episode, but kind of fun, because that one was really interesting to me because there was Alicia Davidson, and I sat closer to her, but not quite as far. Like, everyone here at the table was pulling in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that made it one of the most interesting discussions we've ever had.
Yeah.
Because, like, we agree on a lot of things, but when all of us are pulling in a different direction, to me, that's really interesting.
That's when we really get to the center of an issue, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like the debate ones where we signed like different roles, that kind of had a similar vibe. Where
Yeah.
it's just about the tension of different opinions more than about just coming up with a solution.
And this is totally the episode that, like, if you haven't seen it, you should go back and watch it, because this is the kind of, and I'm going to use a big word here, this is the kind of shit that, like, our industry is very at risk at being regulated out of existence. And if you're not paying attention to that and being a part of the solution for it, we're not going to have it in 5, 10, 15 years, Like, if the industry won't hold itself accountable, legislative bodies will, and we won't like that result.
Right.
I went into that episode. So I need to preface this just a little bit. Dr. Alicia Davidson is a close personal friend, and one of the things that has grown our friendship is our fun science and aquatic discussions. She has a PhD. Her PhD is in aquatic invasive species. So we have all kinds of fun things to talk about. And going into it, I was wondering how this would go, because going into it, I disagreed with her.
Mm-hmm.
She was very much for, and actually part of the group that was helping. Not quite. She had some involvement in making some of those things happen, but she definitely had it was something she was paying close attention to, because it's directly in her field of expertise. And I went into it having all of these, voices in my head, voices on my shoulder. Oh, this is regulation and this is bad. And I do remember saying, really, what did you read about it? Well, they want to take our fish away.
It's that knee-jerk reaction.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that wasn't what was going on. And reading through it in a little more detail was helpful. But Alicia's in-depth, but wait, there has to be a little bit of a recognition here that those those people involved in those amendments and trying to push that legislation through, they care about this industry as well.
Right.
They just don't want it to do harm. They have a vested interest in the continuation of this industry as well.
Yeah.
Just have it not screw a whole bunch of other stuff up, right?
Mm-hmm.
That convinced me that, now the amendments did not pass, it did not go through. And there were a surprising number of aquarium people that celebrated it, although I have to admit, had we not had that evening, I probably would have celebrated it as well.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me specifically, like, I want to bring up every point that I've heard anyone else say. Like, I want to be
Right.
the aquarium industry guy and make sure that we're really feeling all this out. And she had answers for everything.
She did. Yeah, she was very
She
cool.
is literally one of the coolest human beings I've ever met, by the way.
She really is.
But I don't know, like that discussion was so important, and I think more people need to pay attention to it and think about it and dwell on it, because like the problem was that the Lacey Act Amendment wasn't trying to make the hobby a force for good. It was trying to make sure the hobby wasn't an active force for bad.
For evil.
Yeah, and like we need, as an industry, need to acknowledge that's still there, and if we don't, like, we have to address that.
Regulation is coming eventually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why Hawaii closed. Not,
It is.
you know, it's not that Hawaii themselves were doing something wrong, but like enough people in the industry were doing wrong that the perception was the industry is bad.
That's one of the reasons for this podcast. And this was going to get talked about tonight. I'm glad that it got to you first, so that you could be the one to introduce it. That side, every side needs a voice, right? And recognitions of that. But a recognition of the responsibility of that voice. We did the episode not long ago, the top 5 worst things we heard on the internet, or things like that, right? I don't know that we did a good enough job of portraying how angry those kinds of things make us feel.
Yeah.
It messes this hobby up. It messes this thing we do that we love so much, and it makes it harder for everybody. And it
Yeah.
makes things like Hawaii close.
Like the people here at this table, and I feel free to disagree with me on here, but I'm going to speak for everyone at the table here. We care about fish. Like, we love fish. We love them in their natural habitats. We love them for them.
No, Charles, I disagree with you.
Exactly. But like,
I just want to expand that to aquatic ecosystems.
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there needs to be an acknowledgement of how many people keep tanks just because they want to own something.
Right.
They want a decoration in their living room, and we have to find a way to mitigate that. Otherwise, the ecosystems that I get to have in my living room don't get to be there anymore.
Right. I'm hoping that those people that want a fish tank because it's pretty, I'm not going to fault somebody for that being their starting point,
Yeah, no.
right? I think for a lot of us it was a starting point.
Oh,
you know?
definitely.
And even the starting point of one of the starting fish for me was an Oscar, right? Because look at it, they're so mean.
Yeah.
They're not mean. I know all kinds of things about it now. But what gets you into it isn't a bad thing. And actually, because something is beautiful, it's a fantastic reason to get into it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But taking it further and taking it to the next, that can turn into a recognition of the joy of aquatic ecosystems and the need to protect them.
Should be common knowledge that the easiest and most beautiful tanks are healthier.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Like, I have a handful of times in the history of the podcast used the analogy that keeping aquariums is like being in a relationship. And I think, like, asking someone out because they're pretty is a pretty valid reason to ask them out. But at some point, you have to put in more effort into the
Yeah.
relationship if you want that relationship to keep going.
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah. That was a
great.
powerful episode.
Yeah.
What? Listen to that episode. That's it's almost like the biggest takeaway for the night. That's,
Like, the people who are watching this are like, we're the ones who listen to it.
yeah, probably true.
If you've listened to it, please comment below and make me feel a little better, please.
Yeah, Charles is pretty upset about that one.
Yeah.
About the reaction of the aquarium industry to that, and I understand it.
I have people that I looked up to that I don't look up to anymore, and that hurt.
That's a hard thing.
That was
isn't
tough.
it? Yeah, that's a hard thing. Yep, agreed.
Do you have a happier one?
I do. I'm just trying to decide which one.
Perfect.
I'm going with the schooling refish one. That was one of my favorite episodes.
That was so good.
It could have been. Wait, how long does it take for us to do our shameless plug?
Yeah, like a couple minutes maybe.
So we introduce it, then we do the shameless plug, and then we get into the episode. Like, how much time do you think that is?
I think we did a fake outro in it, actually. Like,
I
we did that
I
as
think
a
we actually
gag.
did the fake out.
Was it?
Yeah.
Because it could have been that long.
I think we did that.
It would be like 5 minutes.
Right. If you haven't listened to that episode yet, the episode was on schooling reef fish, and at the same that's right, we did. We all at the same time went, let's do it again. There are none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just, yeah.
It was something that, I think that was, for me, that was a vent. About the amount of conversations that we have in there, in the store, about, hey, I want a group of chromas and a group of pink eye cardinal fin. No! No!
Some of these episodes are just reactions to things we hear every day.
It's very true.
Like that one, the week before we recorded that was when we got that one lady who came in and wanted a school of chromis, and I had that conversation where I was like, they're not a schooling fish. And then she emailed us a link to the most janky
It must have been one of the blogs we mentioned in that other episode.
articles, and was like, but see here, they're a schooling fish, and I had to do the gentle okay,
There's a
but
picture of the discus on this article.
yeah, and I was like, here's the scientific literature that's like, no, I'm sorry.
Is that the one who called a competing store while she was here talking to you to try and prove it to you?
Yes.
Oh. Hey, can you put 6 chromas together? Oh yeah, sure.
Listen, I have to make the joke. My degree is in vertebrate biology. Like, that's not the flux you think it is.
I have a better joke.
Yeah.
Right? I sell fish for a living. I put a roof over my head because I sell fish. And I don't want to sell you 6 of them.
Exactly.
I only want to sell you 1 of them.
Like 60% of the people take that and they'll go, oh, and it sinks in that she was that 40%.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Listen to the person who's trying to take less of your money.
Right. It's perpetuated. This was another reason that this is one of my favorite podcasts. And it has a lot to do with me diving in Thailand not long after we recorded that podcast. I was diving in Thailand in November. And in many of the places that I dove, if you would take any size glass box that we put in our living room and frame whatever is there and bring it up to the surface, that would be an overcrowded, unrealistic aquarium. Right? There's that much life there. Mm-hmm. And this myth is perpetuated because of things like that. And if you look at a lot of the acropora heads that are there, there were many of them that were, let's say, I don't know, is this like 30 inches, right? 30 inches across. 30 inches in diameter. So this 30-inch ball of acropora corals with 25 green chromis and 25 yellow damsels in it.
Yeah, I don't know if people respect enough what the difference is between that and our silly little pile of rocks in our tank.
Right, exactly. The amount of food that has to be present for that to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, food in hiding places.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was one of my favorite episodes we've done. It didn't make my list, barely. But for me, I'm most interested in fish in the context of where they fit into an ecosystem. And that was an episode where we got to hammer that down hard. We don't get to do that often.
Yeah.
We are not even remotely close to realistically recreating reef ecosystems.
It's a crazy idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Not even close. I think there's a lot of little ecosystems that we can kind of pull off sometimes. Right.
Like
And
macroalgae tanks or that kind of like
Yeah, for
lagoon
sure.
style. You can get pretty close to what that lifestyle is like.
even a clownfish anemone
Sure.
has a little bit of realism to it, although not that much.
Yeah. It's going to be the wrong clownfish and the wrong anemone, but it's still kind of
Right.
there.
Right. Well, and the anemone is going to be considerably smaller.
Yeah.
But like we can do a pretty good job of a licorice gourami,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh, yeah.
and that's it, and a lot of different betta species, and even some of the flowing water species.
Cool.
An actual reef tank.
Yeah, Kohler and I have been experimenting and talking through this idea of doing a rimless aquarium that has seasonal flooding, and it would be a killifish basically tank
Oh, that would be fun.
That would be really
with
fun.
the grasses.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the dirt spawning killifish are savanna fish.
Yeah. Yeah.
And probably not in the near future, but it's probably the next freshwater project for me. It's such a cool concept.
That would be super fun.
That's why I want to
Pull it
stockpile
off.
killifish with this convention.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then it'll force you to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. That's fair. That I've done that before.
Yeah.
How did the schooling fish episode rank? That was episode 79.
Sorry guys, I gotta go back a page or two.
You gotta see where the listens dropped off if like half of people stopped listening after 5 minutes.
Oh, about midway.
Mid?
Yeah. So average.
And I would say, I would be very curious to see if we broke down the saltwater ones in the episode and the freshwater ones episodes. Like, how would that rank? Would that be a higher ranked saltwater episode or a lower ranked saltwater episode?
Oh, I lied to you earlier. Our intro to killifish episode
Yeah.
is almost dead center.
Is it
Wow.
really?
Yeah,
And that was
I-
episode 12.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I looked at the wrong page number.
Okay, that's cool. That makes me
Awesome.
happy.
Alright, my turn?
Your turn.
Alright, my number 3 is episode 62, Saltwater Changes, which is, I think, the one that I learned the most from, and the one I think has the most practical information for hobbyists.
This one absolutely blew me away because this is one where I did a lot of prep work for because I wanted to do the textural chemistry. This is our second highest performing episode of all time.
That's very cool.
Well deserved, I think. Like, that discussion, yeah, I kind of expected that to be kind of a short episode, but the discussion was so good around it that it wasn't. It was perfect.
Yeah, that one was probably the most gratifying when it comes to like viewer numbers because like our number 1 episode, I'm not gonna name because it's someone else's list, but that one I didn't put as much emotional labor into.
Mm-hmm.
So like when it did really well, I was like, oh okay. I put a lot of emotional labor into the saltwater changes one, and so when it did well, I was like, thank you. I'm so glad people liked it. I'm so glad.
Yeah, your heavy effort podcasts don't always do as well as some of the like fun top 5 lists that take us 5 minutes
Yeah.
to get.
But the people who like those
You mean
episodes-
5 hours, Amy? Come on.
Yeah.
I
People are listening.
mean, you know, searching through tomes and
Yeah.
manuscripts.
It depends on the episode, but
Yeah.
like a lot of those research heavy episodes are very niche, so I'm not surprised when they don't do well, but I assumed that since this was a quote unquote basic saltwater topic, you know, the side of the industry that's less popular and most people are like I assumed would look at that title and take it as like, well duh.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Eva, can you hit that switch on the wall?
Thank you.
Forgot to turn the heater off. It looks just like a light switch. Perfect,
Yep.
thank you. Help me remember to turn that back on. It'll be a cold morning tomorrow.
Yep. But yeah, so like when this episode it was completely shocking to me.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody has to do water changes. By the way, everybody has to do water. And so I think that's part of it. But I think everybody that listened to that episode either went away going, it's good that I do water changes, or went, damn it, I was really looking for a reason to not do a water change, and they're just sorry.
There's a third demographic that I'm hoping this note touched on.
Oh, yeah?
Because this episode did so well that there can't be people who aren't in this demographic. People who listen to that episode trying to convince themselves that saltwater is too hard for them.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
for
And
sure.
that episode was like, oh wait,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I can do that.
That one and the acclamation one. That's like an underrated version of the same thing. Because that one didn't do that well, but that also brought in a lot of info. Oh, sorry, Ben. Those two are like, for some reason in my head, they're just like a very similar vibe.
Honestly, it was for me too, and so
Yeah.
we can talk about them, together, and I can still come up with some alternates. So
Yeah, that was an episode that I think you titled actually. The acclamation one.
Oh yeah, from Coral to Coral Beauty.
Yes.
Yes.
That was you.
Yeah. That might be the only one I've titled.
I know that I've riffed on things you've said
Yeah.
during the episode.
Okay. The latest Killifish one that's coming out better be titled what I.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so if you listen to Saltwater Changes and skipped acclamation, you should definitely give acclamation a shot.
That was the episode we got our first comment from Jake Adams on.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You did a great job in that episode of explaining the science behind stuff I felt I already knew, but exactly the why. Like what exactly is happening when you acclimate the fish. And it was fantastic. And you did the same thing with the saltwater water changes. So
And we had at that time been fighting against over acclamation for years.
Yes.
And then we had finally had the ammo we needed to convince people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it my turn?
It is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry I talked for most of yours, Amy.
That's fine. You had more to say about it anyway in the episode.
Fair. Just trying to decide what kind of nerd I want to bring up first.
Is this number 3 or number 4?
3.
3. Okay.
So I'm going to bring up the episode 56, Will Ogburn and Lauren Roy, University of Dayton Fish Lab interview.
Those are such cool kids.
Yes, that one was so fun. I don't think we get to have that overlap between scientists and hobbyists enough, and there's so much that we can learn from each other. For example, there's not a lot of scientific literature on how to care for most fish, and hobbyists know that, but like there's a lot of information of like the genetics, the ecology, that like a lot of hobbyists don't think about. And so like when we have that opportunity to overlap, take advantage of it,
Yeah,
man.
that was a blast. I'm really glad this one came up.
Yeah.
It brought up some interesting changes that happened in the public aquarium industry in the last 25 years, where they started recognizing, like what you said, just because you know in detail the anatomy and physiology of a shark doesn't mean you know how to keep one alive in an aquarium. And so the public aquariums started hiring aquarists instead of biologists to take care of stuff. And it helped change public aquariums for the better.
Yeah.
Yep. It also gave a little more legitimacy to the aquarium industry.
Yeah. This episode was in the top like 40% episodes.
Okay.
So it's mildly above average
Yep.
performing.
Good.
And I'm glad because those kids earned it.
I enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and I'm always happy to see that mesh between science and hobbyists.
We need more of it.
Absolutely.
Yep. And it was fun too.
It was really
It
fun.
was so fun. He has the Mahakiensis F1s, the dad of the F2s we have downstairs.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Quick
Aw.
connection there.
That was one of those breeding projects, huh?
Yeah.
Kind of like those breeding projects we're the most fond of.
Yeah.
Most proud of, actually, is what it's called. And that was episode 89.
Do you know how well this one performed?
No.
It's 9th highest performing episode of all time.
9th.
9th.
That's awesome. That one was fun for me for a number of reasons. I got to reminisce about a bunch of old fish that I bred. And, got to take
You got to tell stories.
I know. I'm a fan of that, if you guys didn't know. It also because the two of you kept focusing, not exclusively, but kept a lot of the focus on some of the accomplishments and the breeding accomplishments that we've done here. And I hadn't looked at that big picture until that night with the, oh yeah, we did that.
Yeah, you sort of
and we
separate
did that.
this like this is your time as a hobbyist, this is what you accomplished, and then you started a fish store. But it continues. You're still doing some of the same stuff, just through other people.
That too. But it was also, we have bred a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
right? And that realization that, wait a minute, we did a lot of that. And that was where I came to. But yeah, that it's still a hobbyist thing for me too is absolutely true. That's kind of why I still love this store.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did I write down? Oh yeah, not just cool stuff that I have done, but also really cool things that we have done around here.
Yeah, that was a fun thing to think about. I don't really consider myself a breeder, so like thinking back through that history was really cool.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just the breeding that happens accidentally.
Mhm.
You know, when your buffalo had cichlids, you weren't actively trying to breed those; they just did.
Just making them as happy as possible, and then what happens?
The dwarf neon rainbows was a turning point for me too.
Yeah.
That was cool. It just happened.
Yeah, that taught us a lot.
Yep.
Good choice.
Yep.
All right, mine's only a couple episodes later. I did number 92, which is Aquariums for Kids.
I thought about putting on the list too. That was fun.
Yeah, that's like a personal passion area for me because people just sell kids short. They don't give them enough credit for their creativity, for their intelligence, for just how much passionate they are about living things. So I really like to advocate for kids having fun tanks instead of kids having boring tanks that they forget about in a week.
This one surprised me because this episode performed just above average.
I think the only reason that makes sense is because the only people that are going to listen to it are parents.
No, I don't disagree with you. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that many of our listeners would care.
Oh, I
you-
see.
you
I
get better
thought
than
you were
that.
saying the other way around.
No. I would like to see it continue to do better, though, just because you'll notice a lot of my topics are like I would like the continued existence of this hobby. We need new fish keepers.
And you already see it with the young fish keepers, the college students, there's a change in hobbyists. And that's only gonna get better, I think. I think the next generation is going to care more and do better than we did.
We got a great email related to that episode. He actually, his email was a result of our the bad advice you find online in big box stores episode, and he showed me pictures. I think he's from Nova Scotia. He sent pictures of the betta tank, the betta that they bought and watched slowly die a painful death because of advice online and big box store and clown puke gravel and plastic plants and all those kinds of things. And then he heard our bad advice episode and the kids episode and went back and went, all right, let's give this another shot. And he sent a picture of this gorgeous little planted betta aquarium with a fantastic healthy betta in it. And it was just kind of one of those,
Yeah, there's nothing more satisfying.
keep it
than
up,
that.
team. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're making a difference.
Kohler was
He's in the
sitting.
chat.
What's that?
He's in the chat.
He's listening. Awesome. What's his name?
I think it's Galen? Galen? G-A-L-E-N.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's
No,
somebody
he-
Nova Scotia in the chat.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's that.
Yep. That's probably him.
Kohler was sitting next to me when I opened up that email, and I said, "Look at this betta," and his reaction was, "Look how happy he is!" And I was just like, it was such a healthy looking betta. I was so happy. Yeah.
That's a blast.
Yep. That was good. I think it's time for us to take a 5-minute intermission.
Yeah, it looks like a couple of us could use a break.
I mean, I'm fine here. So like, if Nick's got some questions or comments in the chat, I'm happy to talk with them while you guys top up.
Okay.
Just so people don't have to stare at nothing.
We're actually more popular in Canada.
Are we?
Yeah.
We hit number 15 on the Canada Hobbies podcast list this week.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a different one than the mic.
We also do weirdly well in Sweden.
I'm fine with whatever.
Also Ghana.
Yeah.
We're in like top 40 for Ghana.
There are 2 separate people who are from Australia in the chat that are
Sorry, too.
at.
Oh, have they really?
Yeah.
I was gonna make a little objection about those conservation officers that came in when you were talking about our invasive species episode.
The fuzz.
They came in like all business, just looking to bust somebody. They wanted to lay down the law, and I was like, "Oh, we're nerds. We have a podcast about invasive species." And the guy just relaxed. He didn't care. He just wanted to see cool things I had to show him.
He's
I
just
love it.
making sure we don't have any dojo loaches, and then he's
It was crawfish. It was really
Crawfish,
what
yeah.
he was looking for.
Yeah, that's the big thing right now. Because they're incredibly destructive.
The guy came here to the shop, or
Two COs came in full uniforms,
wow.
We had that happen a couple years ago too.
which is interesting because I think they were making their rounds to local stores. They mentioned like we do this once a year or whatever. It's
Sure.
probably like a slow day type of activity.
Mhm.
But I have it on pretty good authority that there are local stores that have things they shouldn't.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely
we shall
heard
see.
dojo loach
We shall see
reports.
how that plays out.
Definitely heard some
How recent
naughty
was
plants.
That was probably a month ago.
Oh, okay.
And yeah.
Well, yeah, we won't say anything on.
I feel
live
like at
stream.
most they're gonna get a warning, and then like they'll come back and say, "Do you still have it?" And they won't.
Charles, you'll be happy to know 2 or 3 people said that Lacey Act episode was sung some praises about it. Somebody said the episode about the Lacey Act was the most well-balanced, rational discussion on that topic available in any medium.
Thank you.
That's
That makes me feel
Yeah.
really good.
Those comments
Yeah,
really
there's
mean
a-
a lot.
You guys would be surprised how often we get by just on a few key words of praise here and there from people.
There's another comment that says, "Hello, just wanted to say you are my favorite aquarium podcast. I look forward to new episodes every week. In-depth freshwater discussions on niche topics are why I keep coming back."
Perfect. Do you have any niche topics that you'd like us to do? We're always looking for suggestions.
Seriously.
I just opened the door to have people fire off questions. while
Perfect.
we're in a little break period. That's cool, folks.
Just a Hobby Aquatics says there are a lot of online sellers that sell illegal/invasive species.
Yeah.
Depends where you are.
A lot of that is, so state regulations vary state by state. There's like 50 different rules on how to do stuff. So if you're in Florida and you're selling by the rules of Florida, but there isn't a way to enforce or really regulate at this point how
Oh, just an ITA or something,
like
whatever's that meant.
interstate sales function right now. And that was actually something that the Lacey Act amendments tried to address. And that was one of the things that was disappointing about that not going through, because a lot of that, like interstate commerce like that, would have been, there would have been a legislative framework to enforce that.
I don't know if this is a quick question, but somebody generally asked how to care for orange spot filefish.
Allie starts crying.
I don't want to talk about it
I don't want to talk about
They're
it.
incredibly difficult. They have very high metabolism, and they are hard to train onto prepared foods because they're a coral eater in the wild, so you have to try to train them to accept a substitute, but they're specialists, so it takes a lot of time and effort. And let me emphasize time. It's repetition. So you need to be willing to spend dozens of hours on a single fish to get it to learn that, oh, this is a potential food source. Like, one of the times we succeeded, we got like coral skeletons, and we were coating it with gel foods and mastic, and it was a close enough shake that it eventually accepted it, and it eventually took to just the mastic by itself. But it took weeks, and I think at the time that would have been 4 different people working on that fish every day.
We had a quarantine manager leave after trying more
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, well, last time we tried it, poor thing just wasted
I know.
away.
You got so attached to like, Allie, don't get attached.
Oh, I knew better.
One of
but
the
it
big
was
challenges
just
of those fish is the way that they're shipped.
Yeah.
So if it's a fish that's going to take 3 or 4 weeks for you to get to eat properly, it's going to have to be a fat, healthy fish by the time you get it.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest.
Who knows how many weeks it's already been starving
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
It's there's a whole group of fish and this might actually be a fun podcast to do at some point, but there's a whole group of fish that we might try them again someday, we're just not ready yet.
Oh
Right?
yeah, I think we had it like the proxy title we have on our schedule is like challenges that aren't worth it and some that are.
Mm.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yep,
we've
That
been
would
talking
be
about
fun.
doing that episode for a while.
yep.
Oh, whoever's into pencil fish, you're gonna have to wait.
I like pencil fish.
Huh?
I like pencil fish.
You like pencil fish?
Was it pipefish?
You like pipefish. I want me to get pipefish.
I want you to get pipefish too.
I mean, I want a pipefish too.
Pipefish
Yeah.
are awesome.
But give it like a couple of weeks and we'll be talking about pencil fish, right? We
Yeah,
just
look
talked
it up
about
now.
them a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I like those too. Looking at them.
He
There's
says
a-
he got one of the super red ones.
Nice.
Nice.
I remember when those fish first came out. That was probably 10 years ago. And it was one of those, what? That's a pencil fish? Whoa.
Yeah.
There's questions here.
Yeah.
How do I keep my multis from continuing to breed?
Take away their shells.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe get a predator or something. Don't keep multis?
Yeah. Yeah,
Which
I
pike?
don't think that's, I mean, they're going to keep breeding.
Yeah.
You just feed
The pike
us.
can't get in the shells though.
True.
I mean, I think
Like guppies.
one of the ideas tossed out was, what if you just feed them less? And I think what you're going to end up with is an unhealthy colony as opposed to a smaller colony.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
they're really good parents.
They're
Yeah.
Seconds, I
Maltese
mean.
desire to raise is strong.
Yes.
Yeah, where you see one, there's probably 20.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Somebody wants to know how you research the specific rivers and tributaries that different fish are from.
Okay, so that's actually really incredibly difficult. So a lot of that has to do with, at least for me, scientific literature, because most of the hobbyist literature just plain sucks. And so I usually start with a general search in Google Scholar. I'll have the river name that I'm interested in, or if I don't know that, I'll put the species name of the fish, like Pericharodon axelrodi, and you can put in like keywords like distribution, habitat, and ecology or wild diet, and that'll get you studies that are pertaining to like people collecting these in the wild and trying to figure out what exactly they do in the wild, and from that you can indirectly figure out, so where are they doing this research on, because part of the methods section is describing where you were and what you were doing.
Fish-based lists collection locations, pretty detailed. This book right here for labyrinth fish, he gets into some pretty good detail about.
Yeah, finding the specific book, I don't think you can beat that.
Right.
Somebody says, what are the hobbyist bred fish you're always happy to give store credit for? I recommend going back and listening to the What is the Fish Worth episode. Because I think we talk about that pretty extensively in there.
Yeah.
Bristlenose plecos.
Plain ones.
Apistos.
Yeah.
Christos, angelfishes.
Mm-hmm.
Shrimp.
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 Please bring us shrimp.
Please, we need more.
I never have enough.
Healthy, well-bred, well-raised discus.
Ooh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
almost didn't want to say that one because, so if discus don't get the right kind of nutrition in the beginning of their life stage, they get this funky slope to their forehead that doesn't go away. That's why I prefaced it with healthy, well-bred discus.
Mhm.
Yep. Not African cichlids.
Yeah.
Not plain or generic guppies.
Yeah.
Not hybrids of any kind,
Not
really.
hybrids of any kind.
Otherwise, we're just really happy to get stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, plants we're pretty much always happy to get. We'll only give you so much for so much, but we'll take it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fish, pretty much the same thing. We'd rather get hobbyist bred than have to order them in, pretty much regardless.
The bristlenose pleco that's an interesting one, and that's kind of worthy of a little bit of a discussion. We're not recording right
No,
now.
we're not.
Just this is just for the live stream. because people think, oh, well, I should breed the longfin variety because they're more valuable. Well, they cost more, but we're going to sell less of them. Everybody wants a bristlenose, and almost every tank. I'm not going to say this so dramatically, like every tank should have a bristlenose, but many people use a common bristlenose for algae control. So we can sell the heck out of those fish.
Yeah, we can sell 50 $10 bristlenose for one $30 one.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
How about breeding pea puffers?
No.
Somebody's got to do it.
It's actually doable. People will end up with accidental babies from their pea puffers.
Yeah,
You just gotta get lucky.
It's just not done on the
Yeah.
scale. It's needed.
Yeah.
Not consistently, anyways.
Yep.
It's just demand.
Yeah,
Those
it's too
fish
bad.
are insanely popular.
They should
Everybody
be.
wants them. No, they're not even that fun. Puffers are dumb. Everyone thinks they're smart.
They are.
Okay,
Get a sickly
I would
then.
go. Yeah.
I did have a puffer. He was dumb.
Yeah,
Nick, you can attest to how dumb your pea puffer is.
I like them because they're dumb.
Yeah, they are adorable.
Yeah. I love telling people.
I have like a dozen species of boosts coming in the next couple of weeks. Somebody's bringing us
Oh yeah, nice.
labeled.
Wow.
I already have more boosts than I know what to do with. We have like 15 species right now that we're growing out.
sell it.
Huh?
I sell it.
You sell it? Yeah.
You really have
please
that
do.
many?
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
All right. What do you think we go
yeah.
back to it?
Yep, I'm gonna answer Caleb's question, which is where can I send podcast topic suggestions, and then we're gonna move on.
Okay.
Send them to info@watercolorsaquariumgallery.com or podcast@watercolorsaquariumgallery.com.
That's the answer to, hey, how do I contact you at all? That.
That's that.
That's the easiest one.
Yep. But we all eventually see those.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna go back to the recording. It's my turn, right, for number 2?
You just did the kids one.
Oh, I did the kids. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I totally forgot.
Crap.
So it'll be
It's my
Charles.
turn.
All right, we're recording again.
Okay. I'm really gonna throw a curveball at you guys. Because even I was shocked that I put this on my list.
It'd be a curveball if you didn't throw us a curveball.
Fair.
Ooh, that was really true.
But this one even surprised me. Designer clownfishes.
You got a lot of really cool info for that one.
I got a lot of really cool info on that one. But I've been like looking back at the episodes we've done and thinking about like how much I love saltwater fish breeders and what they do. And there's this Facebook group for wild type clowns that I'm going to unspecify that I've really soured on because they talk like designer clownfish are the scourge of all things and they're just inbred mutants and anything. It's got to be a wild caught percula or it's useless.
It's very elitist around there.
And then a few of them are even like they're breeders, but they're like punching down, trying to anyways, at people who are doing it professionally and actually advancing the hobby by taking the money they use off of designer clownfish and innovating and doing new things. And how mean can I be about that? But like, I think that episode was so cool to me because it had so many different aspects of it. I love saltwater fish breeding, weird genetics and how they can interact in inheritance, and just like the people don't appreciate designer clownfishes enough. Now, I think it's just so funny to me. Like I'm in the process of trying to get a wild type pair of perculas for myself, and the entire time it's made me more grateful that designers exist because these really cool, like I can ask from a commercial breeder for a known collection location F1 because he's incentivized to keep track of that information so he can properly breed designer clownfish strains. And I'm like, that's really cool. Like, we all need to go back and just appreciate just how nerdy and weird and stupid and how, like, we get to have our cake and eat it too. Like, it's not often that, like, creating a super red cockatoides almost completely erased the, like, wild coloration out of it.
That's true.
Yeah.
we had to go out of our way through multiple generations to remove that so that we could get the super red. We didn't have to do that for a platinum percula and a gladiator ocellaris and a lightning rune. And that's like, we should be excited that we get to be everyone who wants a clownfish, whether they want the stupid looking one with the weird color pattern or they want the quote unquote true and wild type, we can all have it from the same table.
As long as it's not a long fin.
Yeah.
Well, natural.
Naturally. But like, come on. Like how often does that many people who appreciate the same species of fish for different, like wild type cockatoides people and super red cockatoides people don't get together and be like, you know what I mean?
This is
like,
how this happened. We know exactly the history of
Yeah.
it. No, just they showed up one day.
This was one of our bottom third performing episodes, and I knew it would be, and I'm not upset by that. I'm actually surprised it's done as well as it has, because it's saltwater, and not just saltwater, but clownfish, and not just clownfish, a specific subset of clownfish. That's pretty niche.
It is.
But man, that episode was so fun. Like, I actually, in making this list, went back and listened to the first 20 minutes of it, and I was like smiling because I was just like, it's so ridiculous and absurd, and I love it.
I'll be really interested to see how the wild clownfish episode goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
That's
now
it.
that we've built a little bit more.
That's actually the next episode in the queue.
Ooh. Little teaser for next week.
Yeah.
I remember walking away that night from the Designer Clownfish episode when we recorded it, actually, when I drove away. And my only regret with that episode is that I didn't bring this up during the episode. And when I was driving away, I thought, oh yeah, I remember the first time I saw captive bred clownfish. And now we're doing an entire podcast on how many different strains of designer clownfish there are. Because that first company, and Sequest was the first one to commercially produce clownfish. That's how far we've come in the time that I have been a hobbyist, a saltwater hobbyist.
Yeah.
That was 97, 96 probably, maybe 95 that those came out. And the first like captive bred clownfish.
Yeah.
And now we can do an entire episode on I don't know how many different strains of recognized clownfish there
A
are.
bajillion.
Yeah.
Not even to mention, like, designer clownfish are pretty much responsible for the entire saltwater captive bred fish industry. Like,
That's what funds it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
we wouldn't have any of the other things if we didn't have them, I don't think.
No, period. The multiple sea and reef aquaculture and ORA have both publicly stated that's facts.
Yeah. We've come
And-
a long way.
And I'm glad you brought up the wild type episodes. I wasn't sure I wanted to tease it, but you already did it, so I can bring it up. That almost made my list, but I decided against it. First off, because I was like, it hasn't come out yet, whatever. So does it count as an episode we've done? And then I thought, but I don't get to have that without designers.
True.
We all need to take a moment and just say thank you, Designer Clownfish, for allowing us to have as much fun as we do.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
Thank you, Designer Clownfish.
Thanks, Designer
Thank
Clownfish.
you.
Thank you. That was my point.
I like it.
Beautiful.
I liked our biotopes episode because now I want one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have more to say off of that intro? I have a really,
No, go for it.
3 days ago, someone came in and he goes, so is it possible to keep wild beds in a tank with mangroves? And I said, you should listen to our biotope episode because that is actually one of the biotopes we did in that episode.
Charles's eyes get wider with each word.
I was just
Can
like,
we be best friends?
I was just like, why yes, and I actually drafted out how you could do it.
That one was really, really fun.
Yeah.
I just barely didn't make my list.
That was episode 80. Old Man Glasses. 88.
Did we just talk about biotopes, or did we do like a 3 biotopes or something like
I
that?
think it was a 3 it was
Yeah.
a 3 biotopes.
Couldn't remember.
Yeah.
I really don't remember.
Because we went
most of
into,
these.
I know, right? But that one we went into detail of not just, I want to do a biotope for this fish. It was I want to do this fish with this
Yeah.
fish, these plants, this is the size tank. Yeah.
I wonder what was on my list.
Sorry, I'm trying to find where it is in the ranking.
Okay.
That one I remember doing pretty well.
He did very well. 12th place.
12th place. Awesome. That's
Wow.
cool. That there's just an article that came through on one of the websites, the top 5 trends in aquascaping right now, and that was one of the top 5 trends.
I'll be really excited with the last couple of years. I feel like biotopes have really caught fire. And when in aquascaping competitions, those are always the disappointing categories where
Right.
you see the one that won, and you're like, yeah, they did a good job. What else was there? I hope we see some great ones.
Yeah.
It's the case that if you're looking at a biotope aquarium, like you want to recreate the exact look of a stream in the Rio Negro, it's going to look pretty ugly,
Yeah.
right?
I think the top one for AGA last year was Malawi. So that was really ugly. Not because the biotope that they did was ugly, but it's just rocks.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that like what a lot of people like misrepresent though with biotopes is that like you can make them very pretty. It's just you have to think differently.
Mhm.
And so like Blackwater Aquatics does really well on his blog. I think it's called The Tint, which is a brilliant
That's
name. by the way.
adorable.
And I think that's Scott Fellman. He talks a lot about how rethinking how you aquascape with a like a Blackwater biotope aquarium, and it's really intriguing to me because it's basically the idea of like how do you take, it's like an extreme version of an illegumi where it's like how do you take few plants and a lot of hardscape and make it quote unquote say something. And that's a really intriguing question, and I'm actually really excited for, I think around Christmas this year, George Farmer and a couple other people are collaborating on,
Oh, I forgot about that.
yeah, I can't forget about it, on a book that is aquascaped biotopes. And it's like how do you pair plants and the types of materials and stuff. And if you go to YouTube, George Farmer on his YouTube channel has a few quote unquote like trailers where like there's a few videos that's them talking through. So that's how we did research for this biotope and how we set it up and did stuff and how did we get these fish, and it's really cool and you should totally check it out. It's amazing.
As soon as that book comes out, we'll have it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I can read a book by George Farmer without having to, or like without an audio book with him narrating it.
Yes.
You just love the sound of his voice.
It's like so relaxing to me. When we saw him talk at the AGA, I was like about to fall asleep, but not because I wasn't interested. It's just so soothing.
You were soothed.
Yeah.
I mean, I was exhausted, so that
Yeah,
helped.
that's true. That's true. We may have had some extra fun that weekend.
Lots of fun.
Tank Tested also has an amazing Rio Negro biotope that was inspired by, he did like a trip with Project Piaba.
Oh, cool.
And so, totally check that video
Yeah,
out.
for sure.
Awesome. Any more about biotopes?
I think we got it covered.
Cool.
Yeah.
My number one really couldn't be anything but the questions submitted by podcast listeners. It's hard for me to beat that for fun, for interest, for how well it did in our rankings. Yeah, anytime where we get to hear from our listeners is the best.
Yeah, that episode ranked 5th of all time.
5th.
5th. And it's been slowly climbing, and it came out in February 10th.
Is it the most recent one on the top 10?
Yes.
Yeah. It really just kind of soared up through the ranks. I'm glad people enjoyed it because I really enjoyed it and I want to do another one.
So, just for reference, questions submitted by podcast listeners came out, was our 104th episode. The next highest number in our top 10 ranking is 89.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did we ever talk about what our top performing episode was?
No.
No. Is that on my list? You said it was on somebody's list.
I was worried it would be on someone's
Oh.
list. I can bring that up before my final as like an honorable mention because it's not on my
Yeah, when we're done talking about this
Yeah,
one, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Although it might be the one on Ben's list. I guess maybe we should do it
No,
after.
I'm sure it's not.
Okay.
Sure, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
But mine were in no particular order, so it's
Yeah.
It's hard for me to say too much more about that because what it is was already the fun part.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Go ahead, Charles.
Wait, email
What?
your questions to podcast@watercolorsaquariumgallery.com so we get to do another one.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been like this is quick behind the scenes in the live stream. We kind of made the decision that we enjoyed that so much. We're going to make them as often as we get enough questions to do another one.
Yeah,
So
I think the goal will be quarterly.
Yeah. So like, if you guys submit questions fast enough, we will keep making them.
For sure.
Yep.
It's easy for us too.
Yeah.
In case any of
Less
y'all was
research.
worried about, are we doing that because we're running out of ideas? No. We sat and had a planning meeting a couple of weeks ago, and all of us, I think, went into the planning meeting with this. We've done over 100 of these now. Are we going to run out of ideas? I don't know. Let's jot down a few. And I think we jotted down like 30 in like
Yeah.
5 minutes. So
Yeah, one of our mottos is we can talk about anything for an hour. And
Yep.
that's true.
it is true.
See the Drinks podcast for that.
That episode performed way better than I thought it would.
I know, right?
It performed about 70% what an average episode does, and that one made me smile because I'd always wondered what percentage of people listen to us because they think we're educational, and what percentage of people listen because they like us.
They like us. They really like us.
So thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
It's always bizarre for me to even think about, like, that people are listening to this and enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's just us sitting around and talking.
We've also had some great feedback from that episode on the Facebook page.
Yeah,
that's
it
for
drove
sure.
a lot of good discussion.
Yeah.
I got an email that said somebody falls asleep to our podcast.
I don't know how to interpret that.
Like they play it as they drift off to sleep.
It's because
like
my
that's their
voice
lullaby.
is so soft.
Mhm.
Very soothing.
Wake up over there, John. Come on. So what was our number one performing episode?
That was 5 killer beginner mistakes.
Mhm.
And it outperformed, let me do the math in my head. It performed 3 times above the average,
Wow.
That's amazing.
and it is hundreds of listens above second place.
Wow.
It's gotta be our most
It's
clickbaity.
actually exactly 500 more listens.
Yeah.
Wow.
Somebody asked our worst performing podcast as well.
Ooh. Angelfish, I think. That's my guess. Saltwater
It was
angelfish.
very early.
Yeah. Very early and very niche.
Yes.
Saltwater ones always don't do as well as freshwater ones.
Except the butterfly one did pretty
That's
well.
not,
Did.
that's actually not
Yeah.
true. So,
It was very true at the beginning.
yes,
It was.
it's not anymore. I actually did this math a few months ago. So saltwater episodes perform differently, but at the 1 month mark, they perform almost the same. So freshwater episodes have a higher spike in the beginning, and they taper off faster, whereas saltwater episodes have a lower peak, but they taper down slower.
Interesting. I wonder if our saltwater listeners are cherry picking and our freshwater listeners just listen to all of them.
What percentage of our audience do you think is freshwater versus saltwater? Good guess.
90-10.
Yeah?
So our worst performing episode of all time is episode 25, our 5 dream saltwater fish. And I want to bring up our second worst
Really?
performing episode of all time is the invasive species one.
Dang it! Our dream saltwater fish. They don't care about our dreams.
No. Dashing our dreams as we speak.
No,
Our-
that was back in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
It
was a
early.
long time
Yeah, yeah,
ago.
It was early.
The I also want to bring up just for the live stream, it's come up. Do a quarantine episode. Our 4th worst performing episode of all time was how to quarantine saltwater fish.
Right.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like industry secrets that people like should flock to that one. So we're salty about it.
But I wonder if only the industry people were attracted to it. But tons of really good chemistry and really good stories in that episode, so people should give it
Yeah.
a shot.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Just for reference, though, it these worst performing episodes we've talked about, all of them are half the number of what the average listens are,
Okay.
if not less.
Right.
Yeah. If you want to hear like the dark histories of watercolors, that's the episode.
Yeah.
Wait, is that clickbaity enough?
Yeah. It came from humble roots.
It was quite a process.
Yeah.
So you ready for my number one?
I am.
Yeah.
Conservation in aquariums. Is it enough?
Hmm.
This one was one of the ones that was. I put this one higher on my list than the Lacey Act Amendment one because the Lacey Act Amendment one was just heavy for me.
Mm-hmm.
The conservation in aquariums ones I would describe as bittersweet because it definitely had that heaviness to it. But that one, the discussion around that one allowed me to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
That's good.
You know
we
what I
got
mean?
to talk about things that people were doing well, not just things we were annoyed about.
Yeah, and that one was really good because like there's so much that the industry's doing wrong. Like if you don't think the industry is actively destroying environments, you're wrong. And if you don't think that the industry isn't actively one of the biggest players for invasive species, you're wrong. If you don't XYZ, but there's this,
Actively killing fish and not caring.
yes,
Mhm.
all of that. And there's this twinge because the central thread for me, and that's part of why this episode means so gosh darn much to me, is that there is so much potential to do good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, so much. Like, imagine if every aquarium club donated like $1. Everyone
Sure.
in a club donated $1 towards any habitat restoration effort, to any conservation, I don't care. And like if everyone in their fish room had a tank dedicated for a species of killie or a species of licorice grommet.
A 2.5 for a killie, a 2.5 for a licorice grommet, a 2.5 for a betta. If 50% of aquarium club members did that, we'd keep those species in existence.
Nick, go grab me a bucket and a siphon.
Like, and there's just, I love that. And that's always been in my literal darkest hour in this hobby. That has always been the thing that made me stay, was thinking about the podcast listeners. And even today, Ben had to remind me of it, and I have to thank him for that, where like the podcast listeners who listen and care and take that information, like listen to our Lacey Act Amendment episode, and they're like, wow, that was such a nuanced take, or like they have these random comments about like, hey, you helped me turn around my kid's betta tank. Like, those are the things that I try to say it often, but I mean it, and I especially mentioned it in this episode. Those are the comments and stories that keep me going. Because if I wasn't hearing those stories, I would not be at this table today. Period. And that's a fact. And
There's a time during our discussion this afternoon that I wasn't sure you were going to be at this table.
exactly. And like that is so true, because like there's just so many things that can go wrong, and I'm such a volatile person, and that's just true.
It's on or off for you.
Yes.
I think that's a point that maybe we can take that a step further when we're talking about conservation and hope for the hobby. Every single person that is a professional aquarium person started out because they had a passion for this stuff. Even those people that, in our opinions, are just doing it wrong. Every single one of those people started out with a passion for this stuff. Maybe there's a way to get it back.
Yeah.
No one gets into the aquarium industry or keeps an aquarium because they want to kill fish.
Right.
No.
Nobody. They get into it because they love it and they think that's the only way.
Yeah.
And this episode performed just below it, like literally just below the line. And so please go back and listen to this episode. This episode was very instrumental in me being in this live stream here now. Like, if this episode hadn't happened, I might not be here. If that conversation earlier hadn't happened, I might not be here. And one of the things I want to bring up tonight too, is that Ben and I spent a lot of time talking today about the responsibility of being on a soapbox. We're like I'm innately mistrustful of authority figures, and it is often quite horrifying to me how many people in our comment section look to us for advice.
Take us at our word.
Yes, and I do not take that lightly. That is a responsibility that is...
It's a little terrifying.
Yeah, it is something that I care a lot about, and I try so hard to... Like, that's why all of us try to respond to comments and questions and stuff in the podcast, listeners, because, like, we want to be there for you, and we want you to succeed, and I want those people to keep coming back and keep being better, and I fret over you guys sometimes, and that's true.
Yeah.
But never think for a second that anyone at this table hasn't stopped and thought about the responsibility of you guys looking to us like that, and especially how, I'm not sure we've ever called this publicly, but how often we talked about it amongst ourselves where we're like, oh God.
Yeah. I think that's why we did that terrible advice you see on the internet episode, is because we take this platform very, very seriously, and when we see a whole pile of people that don't take it seriously enough to try and do it right. I think one of my phrases during the conservation episode was, "What do you mean you don't want to do it right?"
Yes, it's one of my favorite quotes of you ever in the history of our podcast.
Yeah.
Every time we get a correction on something, I'm like, thank God somebody's paying attention.
Yes.
You know, some things are pedantic, but if we get something wrong, I want to know. Yeah.
We have,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. Like,
Yeah.
we had one recently where it ended up being that he kind of like missed the point that I was trying to make, and he felt a little bad, and I was like, no, don't be. Like those types of thought experiments are the very thing we encourage and want. Like let's say that you didn't miss my point. That means that I missed something.
Yeah.
Right.
We need those corrections, because like if we're not willing to call our authority figures out in this industry shouldn't be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And even a slip of the tongue, like, it's just gonna happen. We mix up
Like
terms.
the hot fish, damsel fish.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's
just
just
bugs
gonna
me.
happen. But even that can result in things dying. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah,
For
we
sure.
do need to know.
Yeah, can let's call that one out, because I think that Ben and I were talking about two of our. You're still mad about it, and then I brought up, so we have a corrections in our description.
Yeah.
And I had to write a really long description about how, for some reason, in the discussion itself, we all said pixie hawkfish are types of damselfish, and they're very clearly not.
No.
They're,
And I knew that.
Yeah, we all knew
I
it.
think I even brought it up as the example. I said, yeah, like the pixie hawk that people think isn't actually a hawkfish, it's a damsel. It's not a damsel.
Yeah. Like, and
I
I know that.
didn't know about this because I was the one correcting that episode.
Yeah. And then it was so funny, but like probably my favorite, that's one of my favorites, because then I included like a comment at the end of it about how, and then there's also a pixie hawkfish that in some regions is actually a type of hawkfish, and the fact that two fish in two entirely different families can have the same common name is stupid.
Right.
Yes.
And then probably my favorite correction of all time was, I don't know why, but I said Rubellatochromis,
Yes.
and I had to explain that somehow I managed to conflate Wallaciochromis rubellaviatus.
Which is a totally understandable conflation.
Right.
Those are so similar.
Yeah, and then upgrade it to another genus that doesn't exist. I just like trying to find a way to explain to people, okay, so here's how I messed up that comment.
The pixie hawk, by the way, is an anthias.
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that we got to throw that in.
Yes.
Which is even more confusing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But
Yep.
yeah, no, we take that being authority figures seriously, and we try to correct ourselves as much as we can. We encourage you, when you catch us, tell us.
Yep.
Yeah, by the way, if you never read the podcast descriptions, Charles and Nick, I think both write them a little bit. They do an amazing job at going through, trying to fact check as much as they can, verifying information as much as they can. It's pretty good read just on its own. So check
Yeah.
those out.
Yeah,
So fun fact.
100% Charles, by the way.
It is.
I won't take
I
credit
thought
for
you did
that.
drafts.
So that's all him.
All right,
So-
fine. Just Charles. Then I don't want Nick to get any credit.
No, I don't
That's right.
deserve it.
So like I want to put in some like quick fun facts about that. So I put fishes mentioned in the episode.
Yeah.
Just because we use scientific names a lot, and if I know a common name, I'll put it in there. I put corrections when I catch them. I also put addendums, and mostly addendums are actually just turned into fun facts of things that I can't believe we didn't bring up when we were talking about that topic. And so the addendums are probably the coolest thing to me
Yeah.
in our
They
description.
almost function as blog posts.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Thank you for doing that, Charles.
Well, I'm glad people like it.
I like it too. Plus, it helped remind me a little more of what episode when I was like for tonight. For prepping for tonight, I could just read the addendums and go, "Oh, that's right. Now I remember more of what that is."
That's what I said.
It was very helpful, right? I remember messing that up.
Right then, what are we going down
So
on?
my last one actually is because it reminded me of part of the inspiration for this podcast, not this episode, but for this podcast as a thing, right? And one of my favorite parts about aquarium clubs is afterwards going out for a beer,
Yeah.
right? Which, I mean, that's kind of what we do.
Oh, it's a thing. It's absolutely a thing.
Yeah, yeah. And then after work sometimes, we would sit down, before we started doing a podcast, and we would sit down in the kitchen, and the discussions wouldn't end up being, "Hey, what'd you do Friday night?" Or we'd like that to be this deep, in-depth discussion about some cool aquarium-related thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, so what's what am I going out with? The podcast that we do this.
Yeah.
That's it.
Aww. All the episodes.
All the episodes. Yep.
That's adorable.
I love sitting around talking about fish.
There's not much more fun than that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember after the last AGA, I hung out in the, what is it called? The after party room.
The
The refreshments. Hospitality
thank you,
suite,
hospitality suite. Yep.
Yes. And I learned a ton from Gary Lang while we were getting drunk. That was great. That's why you go to those conventions, is to get those moments with people who know more than you.
Yeah.
What's more fun than that?
I want to call, like, so I'm the newest member of the team of the co-host here, and I still remember when Ben was like, "Hey, so do you want to do a podcast?" And you basically pitched it to me as like, "So you know those really cool discussions? Now let's just imagine we record it and put it on the internet." And I was at first like, "That sounds like a terrible idea." And you're like, "No, hear me out." And then you like gave me this like explanation of it and what you wanted to do, and I was like, "This is a really cool idea." And every once in a while, I think back to that conversation, and I cannot believe that 3 years later we're still doing it.
Yeah.
Like, scrolling back through the episodes, my biggest impression is, there are a lot of these.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild.
I had a moment where so the April Fool's episode I posted Saturday, and then later that day I was just like, "Hey, so we have 110 episodes," and then when I was talking to a customer, like, "You should check it out," and then so the actual thing I said was, "Hey, you should check out our podcast. We have 110 episodes." Oh my God, we have 110 episodes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so each one of those is an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Ish. That's a lot of
That's a
hours.
lot of time. Yeah.
Yeesh.
That's like more than 100 hours, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for Charles and Nick, it's twice that long.
Yeah.
Because
Because
they gotta listen to it.
Well,
For Nick, it's probably like 3 times that long
Yeah.
sometimes.
So I have a suggestion to anyone who is a member of an aquarium club. If that club goes out for drinks afterwards, or goes out for dinner afterwards, or goes out, and hopefully, and oftentimes this happens at clubs, they take the speaker out. Go sit next to the speaker at dinner, at drink time, or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take the obvious chair. Don't take the main chair. Take the chair that's going to put you part of the discussion with the speaker, and then don't say anything. Just listen. Contribute some to the conversation right when it's pertinent.
Ask
but
questions.
Listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ask questions and listen. Because It's fun. It's what this is about.
I've got
That's why we do
another
this.
suggestion. So Ben and I give talks. If you're an aquarium,
That's true.
if you're an aquarium club, invite us out and take us to a beer afterwards.
Oh yeah,
Come on.
we'll do a talk.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I feel like we should plan one that the three of us can do together.
Yeah.
That'd be fun too.
I could bully one of the clubs into it.
Bullies are constantly looking for speakers.
But I mean, we're gonna actually get all three of us. 'Cause that's
Yeah.
one of the challenges with a club that's remote, right? They gotta pay for our expenses to get there.
Yeah.
But one of the nearby clubs,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
we'll talk to Natalie.
We gotta figure out what we would talk about though.
Us.
Us. We just talk about ourselves.
Talk about our top 5 favorite episodes we've ever done. Yeah.
So guys, my sign is Cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, what fun. Which ones didn't we bring up? I had like a big long list before we started.
Okay. Are we gonna rapid fire some alternates then?
I have a couple.
I think Nick is gonna wrap. I see him over going.
Well, I do have a couple that weren't brought up that I would like to bring up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as well as circle back to some comments
Wait,
that
should
hold
talk
on,
into
hold
the
on, hold on.
And you have to actually start over.
Yes, I do. I've been waiting for my moment.
Hold on, I gotta get you on recording.
This is your 15 minutes of fame.
Get him, dude.
Alright.
Can everybody hear me?
Now we have Nick on.
Can you hear me?
This
Yeah.
is our podcast editor who we've mentioned several times during the night.
I had a list of my own. Mostly it was covered, but I have two that weren't that I just want to bring up really quick. The seasonal tub ponds episode was awesome, and I still get emails about it.
Really?
And there are still questions about it actually in the chat as far as what people can breed in their ponds.
'Tis the season.
That one
It is.
inspired me.
Yeah.
I haven't done it, but it inspired me.
One of the most successful seasonal pud
Ooh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Pump towns.
Pump downs.
Pond and tub fish.
It gets
Wow.
a little weird at the end of the episode
Somebody got me
sometimes.
another beer.
You do look empty.
I am. The Illuminatus rainbows.
Yeah.
People have been having great success with those, and that actually answers one of the questions earlier. What's a fish that I can breed and trade in?
Oh,
I would
That
love to
fish.
buy those.
Infinite pseudomugo, right?
That fish.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, that was a fun episode to do.
I'm gonna brief touch on the question of what can I breed in a seasonal tub pod. Probably anything, honestly. I've been
Todd, he did the same.
I know. Don't care. Because I've been continually shocked by why the things that people have like done amazing with. Like a few years ago, someone in the club did hundreds of Cory cats
Yeah.
in 3 different tub ponds.
I wouldn't even think about doing Cora.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool.
What else you got?
What's on the list?
It was the debate between Charles and Ben for South America versus Asia.
Oh, that one was
That-
spicy.
That one was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun to edit.
Yeah.
I didn't stay for the whole episode, and I was like eagerly waiting to see how it played out. And I came in the next day to edit it.
I was South America, he was Asia, right?
I don't recall what the
I
score
think-
was.
Yes.
I think you
Okay.
defended South America in both debate episodes we did.
That's right, I did.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And now if I would do a biotope, it would not be a South American.
Would it be African?
It would indeed.
Awesome.
I was surprised
Anything
it
else?
wouldn't be Asian.
Do we want to chat about some comments that I let slip while
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
podcast has been recording?
I mean, this is the live stream.
Yeah. I mean, you're the one who has to edit this out, so.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah, there were some questions that I'll find, but somebody said while Charles was ranting about conservation, rightfully so. One second here. Somebody said, you do understand as the environment changes, that is how you get new life that comes in to fill it in. There is a cost even when you want to fight to stop change.
Yeah, so let me look you directly in the face. My degree was in evolutionary biology. Yes, I do. Specifically,
Shoot the messenger, Charles.
Yeah, specifically evolutionary vertebrate biology. If I can toot my own horn a little bit, one of the last things I did in getting my degree is I took a test that ranked my percentile in the country for people getting that degree in certain types of biology. I scored below average in cell and molecular biology, so you'll notice I struggled a little more with that in the podcast. I scored in the top 6% for evolutionary ecology and like that types of biology, and then I scored in the top 12% for organismal biology, which is the biology of an organism and how they live.
So what you're saying is you got some qualifications.
Yes.
So this individual went on to say, "Why are humans so afraid of change?" In response to you.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to deal with the consequences of their actions.
Yeah.
Because we screw things up.
Yeah.
And we should be held accountable.
Yeah.
Okay. So
We
I
were
think
just talking about this last week, actually. Like,
Yeah.
what's the difference between evolution and destruction?
Yeah. So I think that this person is alluding to the idea of, like, there's a lot of quote unquote, and yes, I'm going to say quote unquote criticism of the science around climate change because it's like the climate has always changed. The answer to that is true. It tends to be very cyclical. So, fun fact, we are technically in a glacial period right now. Glacial periods are actually defined by the fact that we have polar ice caps. So we're in a glacial period. We're in a interglacial, an ice age. We're in an interglacial ice age right now. The fact that we're swinging so hard the other way as fast as we are is the problem. So change itself isn't a problem because that's what evolution is, things adapting to change. The problem is that when things happen too fast, things can't adapt to it. So a great example of that is, it's called a meteor that struck the Earth and killed every single dinosaur. These sudden things, that's not evolution, that's not change, that's things just getting wiped out of existence. The type of changes we're seeing right now are comparable to the types of changes you would expect to happen in the extinction rates.
And we caused them.
Yes.
And that is without question.
Without
And I mean, at this point, and maybe I've had a couple of these, I'm going to say something with a little bit of meat tied. But at this point, if you don't believe in human-caused climate change, you should drive your car from to the left side of the Earth to the right side of the Earth.
Yeah.
Right?
Be careful not to drive off the edge.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to say
right.
even
and,
harsher.
and outside the scope of this discussion.
Yeah, I'm going to say it even harsher because I'm very opinionated on this. If you don't understand the science of climate change, because you don't answer the question correctly for a math test. You don't disbelieve math. You don't understand it.
Right. Yep.
Well put.
All right, so now that we just pissed off a listener.
Sorry.
Sorry about that, but that's, conservation is... Anyway.
Yeah.
We have Kate who chimed in on that said that we're an Charles particularly, and everyone here is an inspiration from a conservation standpoint. I'm not going to address that, but she does say she's starting her master's on invasive goldfish effects on local ecosystems, and I want to read that. Please send it to us.
Yes, please do.
You just became one of the coolest people.
Yeah. So I want to read that.
Yeah.
Public call out to bring your goldfish to us and do not release them outside.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's an open call. We take every fish that anyone wants to drop off to us. We try to give it the best life.
As long as we are legally allowed.
Yeah, as long as we're legally allowed
Yep.
to, and we can safely house it in a reasonable way.
Yeah. We won't take your snakehead. We won't take your
Kids will
dodos.
take pumpkins.
Those
We
should
will
be
take them
we will
and do what
destroy
needs
them.
to be done with them.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Yes.
we will call the DNR and say, here's what we got.
Yeah.
Get them.
Yep.
Sick them.
Yep.
What else?
I can't believe I got so mean on that.
I know, right?
Oh my god.
What about the
You're just so passionate about
what about the
it.
peanut gallery over there? Any desire to chime in?
I'm just having so much fun.
Yeah,
Oh.
no, this is
Sorry.
great, yeah.
No, there's no comment.
Rob says, follow-up question. As an evolutionary biologist, can the X-Man exist?
Can the what?
And can the X-Men exist?
Only if the Jedi Order allows it.
The answer to that is yes. It's kind of complicated though because
He's
You
really
do know
gonna
when you ask
answer
that
it.
question
yeah,
too, right?
yeah. No, you're gonna get a real answer. So there are actually some really weird quirks in human biology. Like one of my favorite ones is that because of the way our mammals produce glands in a really weird way, you could almost argue that we're venomous. We just don't have a way to like inject it.
Like
So
a daddy long legs.
So like it would take very few changes for our salivary glands for us to produce toxins that could kill other things. And so like when you look at things like that, it's like, yeah, you could get some really weird mutations out of humans, but like one of my favorite ideas of like the future of humanity is that if we ever get to the point where we're colonizing other planets, these will be isolated ecosystems. So like every new planet that we colonize, that is potentially a new species of human.
It's true. Isolated
We could
populations.
screw those up too.
Yeah.
Follow-up question though. What if they get hit by gamma rays?
Not so
This
good.
is devolving very fast.
Yeah, I'm gonna go pee, you guys. You can keep answering
Yeah,
questions.
yeah.
I'll be right
Wait,
back.
should we? Oh, okay, let's take a break and then we'll do because we gotta sign out of the actual
Oh
recording.
yeah, we gotta actually do. Wait, we should probably do that anyway.
You want us to do that?
Yeah, let's
All
just do
right.
that.
All right.
I don't know how much of this is gonna make it into the actual episode. That's up to Nick.
That would be fun.
So this episode was totally recorded because of how much fun we have doing this episode and how much amazing feedback we get from everybody out there. I think this was maybe a little too much fun at times.
I had a great time.
This live stream was a lot of fun. Thank you so much to all of you who not only are watching but also commenting. I genuinely apologize for us getting a little mean on some of our replies. It was a little bit harsh, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
whatever. They were a little bit harsh too.
That's true. But overall, we do this because it's fun. We do take this platform very seriously. If we say something incorrect, call us out. If you hear something somewhere else, call them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah.
Like if you don't call them out because you're saying to yourself, but 99% of the people won't. Well, right now 100% aren't.
Right. Do it nice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We talked about an example today of what if somebody who we didn't know stomped in the store and said, "You guys are doing this unethical thing," and then stomped out. Like, yeah, who's that? I don't care. But if one of our regular customers that we care about and enjoy and appreciate so much came in and said, "Hey guys, I just saw this and maybe you want to think about it," we would have meetings about it, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, the first scenario, I mean, they were friendly. That pretty much happened to me because that was who told us that venison barbs were being over-harvested.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we made
We
that
take
change.
that serious.
So if you have stuff to send us, we really set ourselves up for some rough stuff this episode. So some of you maybe be nice. But email podcast@watercolorsaquariumgallery.com. Please head to our website, watercolorsaquariumgallery.com, and buy stuff from us. We really don't want to start putting like generic ads on this stuff. So the more we can do, the more we can sell, the less likely that is to happen. So it really makes a difference to us.
And this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Let's have lots of fun and keep those hands wet.
All right, we are stopped on the official recording now.
Okay.
But we're still on Facebook Live.
Yeah,
right?
we're still on live.
YouTube.
Or YouTube. That's right. We'll keep that going for a little
And
while.
we're gonna answer some questions.
Yeah.
You guys don't need to be in this
Oh.
anymore.
Yeah.
But I
But
got.
I look cool with my headphones on.
Yeah.
Do you need?
Yes, please.
Anybody
Okay.
need
So quick evolutionary
Nick?
biology thing.
beer?
I'm good. I'm good.
John?
Thank you.
Okay.
I would split with it, actually.
So quick evolutionary biology fun fact. It never gets to come up in the podcast. I'm a huge dinosaur nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it's just, they're so fascinating because so think birds of paradise, but they get 20 feet tall. Like, they're these weird, just crazy runaway sexual selection.
Really cool lizards.
Yeah. They're these crazy, like, birds of paradise that's just, like, sexual selection has just
Yeah, you can
run
watch
wild
it,
for
it'll
millions of
replay
years.
live.
And
Or
so,
live.
like ceratopsians, which would be like Triceratops, Torosaurus, and stuff like that. The differences in the frill ornament doesn't seem to be defense. It seems to just be looks cool to the babes.
All right. I like that.
I love it.
What other questions we got coming in from listeners?
Yeah.
Give me a second. I'll filter.
Okay.
Other fun facts we'll do now.
Somebody made a super quick comment on tanks that flow one direction, as in like a river replicate.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen a few instances of that done really well,
Mhm.
and it's freaking cool.
It is very cool.
They didn't ask anything specifically. They just said, "Have you seen this? What do you think of this?"
So
Yeah.
the simple way to do it is with a canister filter and a long tank, and you put the input on one and the output on the other.
Like a bookshelf tank.
Yeah, exactly. The really complicated way to do it is I've seen a number of these where they take PVC pipe and they run that underneath the substrate up to power heads. And they'll do like 3 or 4 of these where there'll be an intake on one end. It'll go through a PVC pipe all the way to the other end and a power head on this end of the tank. So it's literally pulling all of the water with 3 or 4 power heads and just blasting that thing. And then with big river rocks scattered throughout and watching the behavior of things like
Hillstream.
hillstream loaches, or those hillstream danios that we had, where you're gonna see them dart out on rocks. It's a really cool effect.
Hold behind stones so you can cover.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. How many people do we have listening right now? Can
We
you tell me?
have 21 people still hanging out.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Kind of hovered around 25, I think.
Yeah, I think we peaked at 31.
Cool. Cool.
3 of them being us.
We don't talk about that shit.
Okay, we peaked at 28. Ooh, there was an official.
Yeah, there was a whole box of them. Baby.
Well, okay.
It's because you look funny,
Right
John.
front and center.
What are the questions?
Television.
Still scrolling.
I don't know, should we read when Rachel nailed Charles?
Sure.
Charles's top 2 phrases, fun fact and stupid easy.
Yeah.
That's true.
I love Rachel.
Somebody chimed in on the stupidest fish episode.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
You like
Did that come up? I don't-
Yes,
That
that
was
was,
the
our
April- that
most
was the
recent
April Fool's
one.
one.
That was the April Fool's one.
That was a fun one to do.
That one, I'm gonna be honest. Like, if you've listened to that episode already, go back and watch it again. In the moment, I thought Jonathan was so freaking funny.
He was hilarious.
He's
But then-
witty.
Yeah, but then I went back and had to re-listen to the episode because I approve it for posting, and I genuinely think he was way funnier on the re-listen. Like, because I was kind of like primed for his jokes.
His
and
timing.
Yeah, his comedic timing is just so good.
In honor of Jonathan. Oh, wait, did you have a thing?
Related to that, I got an email from a friend of mine, a text from a friend of mine, who is on vacation right now, doing some things I hope to be doing very soon on vacation. But he also put at the bottom of it, and by the way, I'm looking for a school of black skirt Tetris.
No!
He was joking
Yeah,
because he had
that's
seen
perfect.
the podcast episode.
That's
Listen to the
hilarious.
podcast. It was Howie.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a dude.
In honor of Jonathan, why do we say macroalgae and not saltwater plants?
Because they're not plants.
They're not plants.
Algae.
Algae are not plants. They are protists.
Somebody said Charles is mean on rum.
I actually, before this,
He's nicer when he's not when he's on rum
He's
than
the
he's
most
not.
sober
Yeah, I
out
was
of all of us.
gonna say, he's
Yeah.
nicer when he's
it was really.
Like, Ben and I, we get close to like the maybe a little tipsy level. Charles, that's pretty stone cold sober. He's just like that.
All right, here's a question that just came in.
Okay.
What fish do you wish could breathe air and hang out with you like a Pokemon?
Oh my god. I don't know, if you just had like a domestic Beto with the whole tail and everything behind you, that'd be pretty sweet.
Alright, there you go, Game Freak. Go make that Pokemon.
There's gotta
Or
be a
whatever
Betta
whoever
Pokemon.
makes
Allie,
them.
is there a Betta Pokemon?
There's a gold.
There's a
Goldfish.
goldfish.
There's a few goldfish.
There's
at least a
a-
couple goldfish.
There's the
Yeah.
Relicanth, the coelacanth
Oh yeah, the
Pokemon.
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 That looks like an old man.
My wife had this cool goldfish called the Puggle. I think she would love to hang out with the Puggle.
Yeah, that would be a good companion. A big old Oscar would be really fun.
Oh, yeah.
The parrot would
I
hang
got a
out
question
with
for Charles as well.
Yeah.
In terms of evolutionary history, what's the oldest species in the aquarium trade? I don't know if you know.
The oldest species in the aquarium.
What has never changed? I know like things like
In the trade?
lungfish,
Yeah.
lungfish and stuff are.
From what
Lungfish
I
and
have read,
Blitzus.
paradise fish were the first.
Really?
That-
What
so
about, like,
that's-
elephant nose. Knifefish?
That's the first aquarium fish kept.
Yeah.
But I thought the question was
evolutionary.
the
evolutionary.
what is the most prehistoric fish that's
Oh,
still
okay.
That's
I
all
totally
I'm thinking.
misunderstood
That's all I'm
that.
thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna give a really weird answer for this because actually I had a conversation about this the other day. I really don't like when people say living fossil
Mhm.
because that completely ignores how evolution works. Technically, all the species alive today are basically the same age. Most species only exist for about 2 to 3 million years, and then they've either gone extinct or evolved into something else. So even though if we look at things like lungfishes that like superficially look very similar to fossils that existed like 150 million years ago, genetically and evolutionarily and ecologically, they're a very different animal because, you know, the world was very different 150 million years ago. There are some lineages that are like that you can argue are older, but if I'm thinking really hard about this, like what would I pin down as an old lineage that people keep in tanks?
My instinct would be Bashirs.
Oh,
True.
Yeah, that's a good one. So,
Yeah, because they're like separate, right? Almost. There was a really good article about that last year.
so there are species
Did
of
you ask?
like if you look
Bashirs?
at
Lungfish coelacanth.
yeah, so if you look at like
Whatever, I was on the money.
fossil beds for like Spinosaurus, there were like 6-foot Bashirs that lived in that habitat.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
So,
That's cool.
okay, little pet peeve. We call them Bashirs,
Yeah,
or some people do. I don't.
Bashirs.
What do you
Are you
call
sure?
them?
Polypterus.
yeah.
Bashir is the species of Polypterus. Polypterus is the genus.
That's cool.
I just always thought
Yeah,
it was
that
a
is
common
cool
name,
saying.
but
Polypterus
Polypterus is a
Bashir
way
is
better name.
Yeah.
One of the genus
Polypterus.
Polypterus sonatipinus. Polypterus, right?
A lot of people will use, at least colloquially, will use Bashir for like like a family.
Yeah, and I don't think that. I think that only has to do with the common name of the one people are most familiar with. I
Yeah.
don't think that has anything
Oh
to
my
do.
God, are
I don't
we-
believe the name of the family is anything related.
I have a question that I want to answer, and you guys can chime in as well. What piece of equipment do you think is missing in the hobby that you wish was commercially available? And the answer is a frozen food auto feeder.
Absolutely.
See, for me, it's freaking rimless tank lids.
Thank you.
Why don't they all make them? You make a tank, you make a lid. Not good enough. I go to the hardware store. It's not good
I'll
enough.
print you some.
You can't print me a lid.
These
You want to print all of us? So you can print all of us.
Yeah, yeah. So the current state is you have to buy some sort of commercially available clip, and then you have to go to a hardware store and have them custom cut a piece of glass for you your rimless tank.
And you still have to
Laziness.
fit a plastic strip on the back to cut for your equipment.
That's a pain. That's a
It
pain.
is a pain. The whole thing
I've
is.
done it. It sucks.
You
It
can't.
sucks.
You can't cut glass yourself easily either.
I
so-
tried. We tried that here.
Not good.
That was
We
a
were
debacle.
50-50.
Right.
50% success rate.
You remember we had a glass guy even. He got us to get the map cutter, and then all his corners were round.
It's like,
Yeah.
But yes, I think the rimless tank lid is first, but the frozen
But
food
mention it.
feeder.
That would
absolutely.
change a lot.
I see a lot of shaking
Yeah.
heads. Are there like comments going through
Yes.
and chuckles over
They're
here? that are
talking
like,
about Pokemon.
Yeah, there's a very
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
description about a fish.
Too much
Pokemon
talking
fish.
happening right now. I'm getting overstimulated, guys. Let's simmer it down a little.
This is what the people are here for. We have 23
The
people
Pokemon
left.
thing just made us lost. Sorry, we'll be serious. We'll be serious.
yeah.
What other hobbies do we have?
everybody looks at me.
You have a lot of
I do
hobbies.
have a lot of hobbies. Yeah. Okay.
do I need to rotate?
Ooh, show and
Oh,
tell.
yeah.
Careful.
Go
Yeah.
show the
Be
stuff.
careful.
Yeah.
Steady.
There's one of my hobbies there. Not
Does
John.
that not mean?
Right. There's my turntable and my vintage receiver. One of them.
But your hobby is buying audio equipment, right?
Sorry.
I'm just teasing.
You're right.
It's
That
too
was-
easy. It's
it
too
is.
easy.
It was too easy. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. So vintage audio gear and records. You know, my favorite thing about records is, well, two things really. They're inconvenient and their expense.
But those are the best things about them too.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's one of my hobbies is in music in general, listening to good music.
I just play a lot of video games. That's pretty much the only thing.
I don't know. I'm outdoorsy. I like hiking, stuff like that.
Charles can sword fight.
That's
True.
true.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't like to talk about that one too
I
much.
do.
It's yeah. And then
Like
yeah.
6 different sword training.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the one you brought in.
Oh yeah, someone was just like, thought I was joking. I'm like, no, seriously, I have my practice sword in my car right now. I'm going after work. And I like pull out this like sword out of my car, and they're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But also just reading in general. Like I love scientific literature. I love fiction. I love sci-fi, fantasy, and dinosaurs.
One of my favorite phrases is that fish are friends, food, and fun.
Yes.
I'm there with you.
I love to fly fish. I took Charles fly fishing once. It was fun. We had a good time.
Did you catch anything?
Yes, I made sure that everybody who fly fished with me on that day, it was Justin and Charles,
Yeah.
and they both caught.
That sounds fun.
Can I give 2 anecdotes about that
Yeah.
day? So me and Justin, this was both of our first time fly fishing, and I remember he and I, within like 30 seconds of each other, managed to hook the tree behind us. And we were both looking at each other like, can you believe this crap? This is stupid. And then we look upstream, and there's like the sun is setting, and you had a perfect cast, and you immediately caught a fish, and we're like, are you freaking kidding me?
It was like an advertisement.
Yeah, you're like, this is stupid. But I did manage to get the last fish of the day.
Yes, you did.
And I'm still proud of that.
Yep.
And
he looked
like
cool,
a
too.
Sims commercial.
Yeah.
He looked very cool. He had the long flowing locks. He had this really nice outdoorsy hat on. He had the waders, and he had that look with the fish in his hand. I mean,
He's just there as a model.
Yeah.
it was picturesque.
two more quick comments from our buddy Kevin. Open invitation for the three of you to speak at Swamis.
Oh, yeah.
When and where?
And a
Let's
beer
set up.
after.
I'm
Set
actually
up.
giving a talk for them this month.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Somebody else said, I would like to try to get you flown out for an aquarium club I'm not familiar with, PVAS.
Where is that one?
I don't know. What
Where's
class?
PBAS?
Where is that?
My first guess is Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania Valley, Pittsburgh Valley Aquarium Society
Palm Valley Animal Society, maybe?
That doesn't.
In DC.
in DC.
Ooh.
Wow, that would be fun.
DC's great.
Yeah, if you take
Wait, I
me
want to
to-
do the books one.
Potomac
Oh,
Valley.
Potomac Valley Aquarium Society. That makes way more sense.
Oh yeah,
Very cool.
Potomac I think is how they
Potomac.
would pronounce it, not Potomac.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Now my error
Washington
is
crossed
on
the Potomac.
live video.
Forever.
Oh, there's the Delaware. It's
You
still.
can't edit that.
Someone asked what Charles' favorite dinosaur is.
Yes, someone would like to know who dinosaur.
Yeah.
We'll be here all night.
Yeah. So I have a very basic answer, but the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Because because there's such a weird evolutionary lineage. So like tyrannosaurs in general, like as a group, they like 100 million years ago they were like a third tier predator, and then like all the top predators in their habitats went extinct, and they literally said, "This is my moment," and they like got huge within a few million years. So they have all these weird quirks because they're a coelurosaur. They're a small dinosaur body that suddenly got big. That's why they got weird things like we have tiny arms and like big, like all of that is just because they got big fast, and that's just so weird, and I love it.
Someone says show 2 of your favorite prized books and explain why, please. So go.
Oh, I already know the
Wait,
answer.
I don't need to
one of
because mine are
those.
already here.
Watch
Oh,
it. Maybe
that one
maybe
is-
Justin first.
I didn't know we had 2 copies here.
Well,
Yeah, mine.
Can you hand me
Oh.
Joyce Wilkerson's
I haven't seen that
Clownfishes?
Oh, I have.
Oh, wait, yep.
I think it's
Yeah,
the top
it's
shelf.
nothing with
It's that
that.
one.
It's that one.
It's that one.
Thanks.
I should know.
Yeah.
That works.
This is actually book 3 of Nature Aquarium World, Takashi Mano. Book 1 is my favorite because it's book 1, and I don't have that.
Is that one your signed copy?
This is my signed copy from Takashi Mano.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
That's references. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I have another new favorite book. Charles bought me this book just the other day.
What is that?
Tropical Fish, The Raising Generation. So it's a breeding tropical fish the natural way book.
A Save Our Planet book.
Yep.
It was printed in
very
1990.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. So you talk about Crystal's book, and I'll just hold my copy up.
Yeah, the Plant Bible. I look at it
Undoubtedly.
pretty much every day.
Yeah.
can confirm.
It's got basically, yeah, I was reading it in bed last night. But it's got basically every aquarium plant in it, where it comes from, how to take care of it, its genetics, basically all you would ever need to know.
Yeah.
There could not be a better book.
No. Yeah, until the next volume.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
until she adds more.
my joke about this one is, if I could write the very best planet aquarium book I could possibly think of, it would not be nearly this good.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is totally worth the investment. You can still buy it directly from Crystal,
She'll
and she'll
sign
still
it.
sign it for you. And she's amazing, and you should give her your money so she can keep going on trips to Africa and dive for Aponogetans and stuff.
And AGA convention, so you
Yes.
can hang out with her again.
Yes, it would be great to have
She
her
was
back.
very cool to hang out with. Yep.
Then I have the cichlid fishes of Western Africa. This one has been a lot of fun, really detailed. Both Verlag and Lambo are really good and have a lot of great pictures and articles in there. There you go.
Clownfishes, a guide to their captive care, breeding, and natural history by Joyce Wilkerson. I think people will notice there's themes that I hyperfixate on, and something this dense on clownfishes is great. And then Labyrinth Fish World by Horst Linke. We brought it up earlier, but this is probably the coolest biotope book I've ever seen.
That's a special book.
I purchased my copy and then I brought it in the next day, and Ben immediately walked to his computer and bought his own copy.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah,
There are 1,800 pictures in there,
yeah, something like
like that.
Just something absolutely absurd.
and almost every species has a native habitat picture and an up close, like, hobbyist picture in it.
Great resource.
It's
Yep.
amazing. I think an honorable mention is The Origin of Creation by Takashi Amano.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a pseudo-autobiography.
Mhm.
And that one I think is good because everyone who's read it, it's like changed how they view aquascaping and like keeping tanks in general. That book is like a compilation of like short stories and anecdotes of like
Yeah.
how I figured this out or how I tried this and it didn't work. And it's a great book.
Yeah. He talks about this first experience that brought him into wanting to create beautiful aquatic ecosystems, and he shows a picture, and it's a concrete drainage dish. Right? That was the first thing that just inspired you to want to be a part of it, and I can really relate to that.
I requested that we get that book in for myself, and then I think you said you're like, it's $90. And I said, oh, that's all right, I don't want it anymore. But I get to enjoy it here at the store.
Yes.
I think
Any
we got
other
it as a
questions
wedding
from listeners?
present.
There's one from before. What is your favorite tank size?
20 long.
20 long, maybe.
If we're talking standard take sizes, yeah.
Yeah, standard, not those wonky rimless tank ones, just like
Thank
the
you,
standard
Danielle,
tanks.
for being on the same page.
So, all right, I'm going to throw in a teaser here because how would I pick a favorite tank size?
There's a
then I
follow-up to this as well.
Okay, good. So then I would go, well, in order to pick a favorite tank size, I would have to pick a favorite tank. And I have a tank idea that I haven't done yet, that I'm going to be doing soon. At least that's the plan. And it's the 36-inch bookshelf tank.
Ooh, yeah.
That's a great tank.
Yeah. What's the follow-up?
Those 35
Yeah.
logs
That
that
is
you
a
have
nice
are really fun to work with too.
Yeah. Yes.
The follow-up to that is, if you could only have one tank, what would it be? What size?
I only have one tank at home, and it is a 90-gallon Planet Aquarium.
It's 90?
Yeah.
It is.
It's a bit. It
It is.
looks smaller.
Pretty
than
size.
it
does look
is. Yeah, it
smaller.
looks smaller.
Yeah.
For me, if I can only have one, maybe a 40 breeder.
If I can only have one, it would be a 25-gallon lagoon tank with a clownfish pair.
That would be fun.
Cool.
I think I would do a shout out to, like, if I was going to start over with my tank at home, in the spot where it is, I would get the Miyake,
Ooh.
which is that one
Those dimensions are
36
pretty much
by
perfect.
20 by,
Yeah,
20
it's like
or
a
something?
40 breeder, but a little taller and a little wider.
Yeah.
I think.
yeah, and then rimless and
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I think I would start over. The tank that I have at home is so easy,
Yeah.
and I'm not
It's hard
going to
to wanna
change it
tear it
unless
down.
something really bad happens. If I were going to replace it, that would be what I would put there.
Yeah. Dude, shout out to that Miyake tank though. Like,
That's
every time I've had one in, I'm like, that is a
And I don't
perfect
think-
dimension.
I don't think any other brand makes a dimension that's like right.
No,
in
they
that
made that
sweet
specifically
spot.
for
That's
him.
just Like
Yeah.
he got it right.
Yep.
Those are the right dimensions.
Speaking
Well-
of episodes, we had an episode with Jeff
Yes,
Miyake.
we did have someone ask earlier too, like about different aquascaping styles and stuff like that. Or no, it was about competition,
Okay.
which was actually a huge subject in that episode. So you should go back and listen to that episode
That's a
because
great question.
Jeff talked to us a lot about
Right
it.
there.
Oh yeah, that was Rob earlier. He repeated it. Is there a set of rules and guidelines for scoring? It'll be different for every competition, but
Would.
Jeff goes through a lot of that
yeah.
stuff in that episode.
And then I would start out on the Aquatic Gardeners Association website and look at their aquascaping contests. They have some good details with how that goes.
Yeah.
Yep. I've heard, so we spent time talking to Karen Randall. She was a judge for that. Jeff has been a judge for that. I've been an aquascaping judge.
We talked to Dennis Wong, who's been
He's
a
a
judge,
judge,
too.
yes. You have to do everything perfect. And then something has to set it aside. There's
Yeah.
got to be something that goes, like, these judges are going to see 100 tanks or 1,000 tanks or even 20 tanks. And then
Some of
at
them look
some
almost
point,
exactly the
right,
same.
at some point, you got to make them so they're going to be walk past it and go. I can actually relate this to one of my other hobbies, which is brewing beer. And I entered one of my beers into a brewing contest, and I got a very nice score on it. And all three of the judges' comments were, "Wow, this is a fantastic representation of the style." I think it would have scored better if there would have been something special about it, right? Something to say, okay, you knew what you were doing here,
Yeah.
but something has to make it go, whoa. Something's got to just draw you in and make you remember that tank as opposed to something else.
I didn't know about that. Was it the stout?
No, it was my London Ale.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. Yep.
Try the stout next time. I feel like that one's so solid.
I have the batch ready and it's going in hopefully tomorrow.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
That's
I've
so
not
cool.
made it to a brew night yet.
You have not. I know.
Sure.
I know.
I'd like to.
Cool. Well,
Any
that's
other
fun.
questions coming in on
We still have
YouTube?
like 19 people watching, so nobody left.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. Next week we don't have an episode, right? Is that your off week?
no, next week we do have an episode,
we
and
do.
then it's an off. I don't know.
Are we gonna stream next week?
We are not going to stream next week.
We have a queue though.
Yeah, we do have a queue.
Is that uploader tool still working?
I think
We had to change it
I
the
think
other
we
week.
decided on top 5 easiest
So
Is it
scorers.
the uploader
Easy
tool still
corals.
working well? We had to
Yeah.
change it the other week.
Yeah,
Not
he-
top 5
he pushes
easiest
everything
corals,
through
top
on
5
his queue.
easy corals, right?
Yes.
Different question.
I was gonna say I should.
No,
do
wait.
that.
Don't answer it.
Yeah.
Have interpret it how you want.
Two drafts.
Actually.
2 drafts from the queue right now.
Nice.
Sweet.
Cool. All right. Well,
I think that
Let's
went
log
well.
off.
Yeah. I'm ready
thank
to
you
go
so
home.
much for listening this long. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome, and we'll see you next time.